Yeah, and speaking of consequences, like in May, for example, Elbit Systems, Elbit Systems, which is one of the producers whom you target, they in the in the round of attacks and aggression in May, they have stepped up their technological capabilities. I heard that, they are using drone swarms, which are, artificial intelligence enabled drones, which can then be sent out to automatically target and, reconnaissance and even attack, targets, or should I say targets that they deem so. So in terms of that need to rapidly shut down such a system, what advantage, well, I suppose, the advantage of direct action is that there's a rapidity in it compared to the other forms of, of action and so on. Would you be able to speak a bit more on that? The innate, advantage and
Definitely. I think there's a clear advantage to direct action, which is it's in the name. In a sense, you have a direct impact on the financial income that these companies receive from massacring Palestinians and producing these weapons, and you have a direct impact on them being able to supply these weapons at the same time. Often these factories, they produce different components, different sites. Some assemble the drones, others produce the components, and they work as a chain. And when you knock out a couple of those repeatedly, and this is what we do in Palestine Action, it's not just one-off direct actions, which has happened before, but it's not been adequate to cause enough disruption. It's sustained direct action. It's going week in, week out to disrupt these companies and trying to make it impossible for them to be able to operate here in the UK and anywhere for that matter. And I think for many of us, including myself and others, we have seen what's happened to Palestinians in Gaza. We're seeing what's happening to our brothers and sisters across the world. It's often the same companies, and when you follow the money, it's the same companies profiting from the oppression of the people in Kashmir, to the people profiting from the oppression of the people in Palestine. And when we know that these weapons are being built in front of us, not only is it a duty, because the fact is they never build these weapons in front of the people that they will kill. They build them in front of us in the West, in countries which are privileged, is basically built on the oppression of people across the world, where we have a lot more freedom and ability to take action. And in a sense, it's a massive opportunity to actually directly impact the material source of this oppression. And you cannot have a military regime without their biggest arms company. And making it impossible and kicking out Israel's largest arms company from a country like the UK, who they deem as one of their strongest allies, sends a strong message to all companies and to any government, that people will rise up. We are one, it may sound cringy, but I think people need to remind them we are one human race. And if most of us saw somebody be attacked in the street, most of us would try and do something to step in the way and stop that. And the same thing applies when the weapons that are being built to kill our brothers and sisters are being built in our towns, that we go out and we take that action. Because if things were the other way around, we'd be begging for people to do the same. And unfortunately, the same channels which we have been made to believe are the appropriate, sorry, I'm trying to hold my breath, are the appropriate channels to take, the democratic channels which we're supposed to have in this country, have failed. We saw 380,000 people sign a petition calling for the UK government to impose sanctions against Israel. And that debate was so painful to watch. And it's the same stuff time and time again, which basically means no impact for the Palestinian people. We see protests come out when Gaza is being killed, and it's the same reactive protest which we see time and time again. We had hundreds of thousands of people out in the street. Against the Iraq war, we had 1 million people, and still 1 million people were killed in Iraq. We have to, as a human race, start taking from privileged places, taking sacrifices, risking our own liberty, never to the same extent that the oppressed people do, but taking a risk and pushing it in order to create a change. Because if we keep acting and only taking action within our comfortable area, then it's comfortable for the government, and it's not going to pressure them to take change. We've seen it time and time again. Israel's apartheid regime and the support that they have, the diplomatic support that they have from the UK, is not going to be an easy plight to change. And that requires us saying, we're not going to appeal anymore to the same government who's been complicit in apartheid, who's been complicit in murder for decades and decades, and if not centuries. And if you're complicit in murder, they are murderers, essentially. And appealing to the same people, appealing to murderers to make a change is crazy when we think about it, when we as people are many, and we have the ability to stop them. If we say we're not having it, they won't be here. And that's the power we have, and that's what we're trying to do in Palestine Action, is to empower people to take that action so we can shut these sites down.